Hi guys, welcome to Counterfire. My name is Connor, and today we're going to be doing Hasan Piker Sucks Episode 1. And the reason why we're doing Episode 1 instead of just a standalone episode is because I have a prediction that Hasan Piker is going to have takes in the future that are going to suck as well. And there are actually probably half a dozen to a dozen takes that I can imagine already that suck, but we're going to be talking about one today that I actually think is pretty flippin' funny. So for those of you who don't know, there was... I'm going to have to give you some geopolitical backstory. And as a matter of fact, should I pull up... I'm going to go ahead and pull up Google Maps real quick for you, just so you can see what we're talking about. And Google Maps, Yemen maps. Okay, and let's go to maps. Let's click on this bad boy. And the reason why I'm talking is just because I don't want you to feel lonely during the moments of silence, okay? I want you to know that I'm here for you, all right? So Yemen, right? So Yemen is in Saudi Arabia's back door. I believe population-wise, you can correct me. Anybody can correct me. Leave it down in the comments if I'm wrong. I believe demographically, it's majority Sunni. Now, Sunni and Shia are the two major sects of Islam. There are many more sects, and on top of that, a lot of people will argue that dividing it up along these religious lines is not sufficiently nuanced for the conflict that's going on, but I often find that conflicting parties are either Sunni or Shia because they, you know, Iran is the hub of Shia belief in the Middle East and North Africa, and then Saudi Arabia is the hub of Sunni belief. And so oftentimes proxy conflicts are between these two religious sects, even if people believe that it's insufficiently nuanced. So what happened was, here is the Suez Canal. It has to be the most important, like, canals on the planet, the most important trade route on the planet, because you have buttloads of petroleum in Iran, Saudi Arabia, and a whole bunch of other Middle Eastern and North African countries. And then you have the passageway to Europe, you have the passageway to the United States, you have the United States and South America shipping back into the Mediterranean and then back through here. And it basically allows you to skip sailing around South Africa, which is a treacherous trek, okay? So that's why this canal is so important. Well, what's going on is Israel is currently engaged in a conflict with Palestinians who are indigenous, ethnically Arab, but also different ethnicities, and majority Muslim in the Gaza Strip and the West Bank. And in protest, there is a Shia-backed, now I don't know the Houthis' religion, they could be Shia, not sure, but they are definitely backed by Iran. There are the Houthis, who are a militant group in Yemen, who have effectively taken over the country. And so as a result, to protest the military conflict in Israel and Gaza, commercial vessels are being hit with missiles when they go close to Yemen. Now, part of the reason why the Houthis and Yemen, if you want to consider them the government of Yemen, part of the reason why they're sticking their fingers in the eye of the international community through commercial stuff is not just Israel, Gaza, but also because Saudi Arabia doesn't want to tolerate an ally of Iran being in their backyard. And so as a result, they've had an aerial bombing and political and military pressure campaign against the Houthi government and have basically been, you know, bombing the crap out of them for a decade. And we largely don't talk about it in the Western world because it is inconvenient to have one of our major allies bombing the crap out of a country and killing tens of thousands of people, if not more, and also causing dire deprivation that kills tens of thousands of more people who are not involved in combat, okay? So that's kind of the situation. So Hasan Piker had a conversation with a young man, I think they called him Timothée Chalamet, and he was a fairly, like, traditionally, conventionally attractive young man who was riding around in boats and wielding AK-47s on and boarding captured commercial vessels that were off of the Yemeni coast. And so a lot of people criticized him, including me, for essentially platforming somebody who was the propagandizing the Houthis and saying that what they were doing was good. That, you know, shooting missiles into random commercial vessels, kidnapping people, you know, taking random cargo, all of that was good in order to protest Gaza, which, again, I think is a shield for something that they want to do anyways. But here is Mr. Hasan Piker, I believe, responding to some of the criticism by making, I would say, like, a relatively controversial comparison.
I talked to a teenager from Yemen, okay, who everyone called, myself included, called Timothy Charlemagne or Chalamet.
Is that the One Piece one?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Now this kid is like, I think he was like 19 at the time when I talked to him, which means that for most of his life he has withstood genocide, right? Like he is a person whose only experience is like, it's literally like talking to fucking Anne Frank, basically. Okay, being able to talk to Anne Frank in real time. That's all he's known is death and destruction.
Okay, now you're like, hey Connor, there's a point here, which is that, you know, you're a privileged white man in the Western world. You know, civil war in the United States hasn't happened in 150 years. Maybe, you know, if you were born in Yemen and you were brought up under serious circumstances, and and there were a militant wing that had taken over your country and they were fighting the oppressors, maybe you would be joining them and cheering them on as well. So maybe you should sympathize with Timothy Chalamet a little bit. And I hear all that, right? Like, I'm Irish. It's easy, as an ethnically Irish person, it's easy to sympathize with dissidents and rebels, right? But here's the thing, is very inconveniently for Hasan, he compared this young man to Anne Frank, who was, you know, I believe, a Jewish girl who hid from the Nazis, who penned a diary and was ultimately killed by the Nazi regime. She wasn't a partisan, she wasn't a rebel, she wasn't a terrorist, she wasn't anything. Whereas Timothy Chalamet has taken pictures with AK-47s. He has talked about how he supports all of the fighting. He has talked about, you know, solidarity and how he's ready to die and holy struggle and all that kind of stuff. And also, he tweeted out this recently: the execution that we will carry out on all Zionists. So I get it. You want to separate out Jew from Zionist. That's what the lefty cope would be. Is like, oh, well, he's not talking about all Jews. He's just talking about Jews that support Zionism, which is the establishment of the state of Israel. But here's the thing, though, is that includes all of the Israeli government. That includes all of the IDF. That includes a healthy chunk of Israel citizens. So you have this man threatening barbaric torture and death on Israel citizens, and we know he's serious because he supports and is aware of October 7th, because that's how he got into Hasan Piker's circle in the first place. That's what he was protesting in the first place. So he's seen the videos of people getting tortured and murdered, of civilians getting kidnapped, of civilians being held hostage, of people getting decapitated, of children being shot with grenades. And Timothy Chalamet is like, yes, good, I like this. And Hasan is like, yeah, well, you know, what are you gonna do? Well, I don't know. I just, for me, just me, as somebody who is in the West, somebody who likes America, somebody who likes Western values, somebody who likes, you know, all this kind of stuff, I wouldn't be simping for international terrorist organizations. I wouldn't be simping for a young man who might have every reason in the world to be upset, but he is actively cheering on the torture and death of civilians. Just a thought. Don't worry. I'm sure this will not be the last terrible take that we get from Hasan Piker. I'm sure we will have more terrible takes in the future. I will be very happy to break them down for you. And, you know, I wish you well. Have a beautiful day or beautiful night. Godspeed. Bye for now.